Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we're going to talk about the major aspects of parliamentary democracy and how it compares with the presidential form of governance. We're also going to shed some light on Old Islamic governance system. So, just to give you a perspective, Islamic Republic government is what we have in Pakistan right now. So, it's like a, a democratic government where every citizen has rights, whether you are Muslim or you are non-Muslim, it doesn't matter, equal rights. And the other Islamic government, the one which I'm going to shed some light on, is basically the time of when the Islamic empire was expanding. There were three major empires of that time. There was the Islamic Empire, there was the Roman, and there was the Persian Empire. So we just gonna talk about this briefly. So before we begin, let's shed some light on how civilization was prior to industrialization and other modern cities that we have today. The earlier days in human history, people used to live in small villages, camping societies. Some of them were nomadic in nature and would move places to places for water and food security. The living style was common at that time, and this type of standard was like almost all across the globe. So at the time of Islamic revelations in the Middle East, when Islam began to spread, large territorial gains were made, and as as those large territorial gains were made, a lot of small villages and camps belonging to other people of faith came under the Muslim rule. So because there were wars, not just at one place, there was wars everywhere. In the Persian Empire, there were wars with the Romans. So this was a common practice. So many villages would come to where the Muslims were ruling, and many of the Muslim villages would fall in their places as well. Yeah, so these were pretty common occurrences within that region, and those territorial gains and losses, especially between those empires, Roman, Persian, and the Muslim Empire, it was a constantly changing and dynamic environment. So if a area has been annexed, it was a common practice, like at that time, the people living in that area or that community would pay taxes, and those taxes were for their safety and security, also known as the protection money. Similarly, when Muslims, when they found new territorial gains, they also implemented rules, but these rules were divine. It was made compulsory duty of a Muslim empire and individuals to protect people of other faiths, along with their places of worship. So it was not just like uh, like let's just say, as compared to other empires, not just a duty, but it was a divine rule, a divine, what do you call it, revelation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that it's mentioned in the Holy Quran as well. So as for the protection, those communities would give jizya, and also known as the protection money. The state would not interfere in their personal affairs. Historical data suggests that Muslims indeed did their part, and the duties were fulfilled by the people. And however, same could not be said of other empires of those times, especially those of the Roman Empire, and then later on when things moved towards the Mongolian Empire, they did terrible things. So decimated many Muslim villages and camps and persecuted people. So same could not be said of those people. So this was the background of how people used to live back in those days. So whenever somebody wins, you have a piece of land, people were, staying there, so they would pay protection money to you. So so that's how people used to live back then. So this background was necessary as to explain, as some people like talk in Pakistan, that they want to bring like some, like not bring, like they talk about like those eras and say like those rules should be implemented as of now, but they fail to understand the aspects of globalization and human evolvement. So just to give you like a one example would be, they say we should bring back the jizya system, as people of non-faith or the other faith to pay the jizya, and the government of Pakistan should not be helping these people build their temples and stuff like that. So because of this, I'm trying to highlight this issue. So it's pretty weird to think that the government shouldn't be like helping their people. Like why would you even ask the government to, like why would you say something like that to the government of Pakistan, that hey, you should not help the people? It makes absolutely no sense. And to contrary to this claim of those few peoples, well, the good thing is like in Pakistan there is not so much polarization as compared to India, thank God. So we are like pretty much safe from that. But just but whenever like these kind of questions arises, a logical answer should be given. So my logical answer to this claim of theirs is the is that the mode of governance has changed. As humans evolved, they grew in numbers from mere thousands to millions in a matter of centuries. As food security grew, so did their trade and commerce. Nomadic lifestyles were abolished, villages turned to cities, and world became smaller and smaller, like passing days. So it's like globalization. Like so many people of different cultures and religions are living together now. Today we have mega cities all across the globe, not just in Pakistan, and keeping all the pillars of Islam intact. The minorities are tax-paying citizens of Pakistan. This is the essence of Islam, which guarantees the protection of minorities in their countries. Just for the argument's sake, let's just assume that if Pakistan brings back the old governance system, the one back in those in the Iron Age era or the Bronze era, in order to fulfill those prehistoric requirements, the government of Pakistan would actually need to segregate people, because as people in past used to live in villages, right? That was the main reason. That's why there was no community engagement between non-Muslim and the Muslims, because they were too far, and there was not much trade going on, or the commerce or globalization, because it was prehistoric times, right? So the government needs to declare them as subjects. They would have to create new cities for them, so they would have to segregate them. So would you think that's like a logical question from my side? Like, is this possible in this time of world? Absolutely not. It's not possible at all. But let's just say, for an argument's sake, let's just say Pakistan does go ahead and does that. What do you think the rest of the world would do? Like, how would they react to the Muslim population? Actually, a fairly large Muslim population living in Europe or in the US or in other Western countries. How would they react? So these few peoples like who claim all these things, they're just what can I say? Like these are all they're all living in past, and because of these few people, like we get a bad name like to the country, but majority like don't uh, concord with these kind of views, and yeah, so as time passes by, like I'm glad that the majority of the people in Pakistan they do realize that the main pillars of Islamic governance needs to be established, which are thankfully been established. As long as those are taken care of, everything is fine. So this is a very essential that people in Pakistan should educate each other and those who don't understand how governance works and how Islamic pillars are the key elements to a society. Not that was just not what was carried out in historical times. Not those because those were the rulings and the things of that time. Today times are different. Regardless, like Islam guarantees full rights to non-Muslim living in Pakistan or any other country. The right to live as a citizen of that country and abide by the local rules. The state guarantees their protection and also works to serve their needs, including building their worship places. So let's just take a quick look at the parliamentary democracy that's in Pakistan right now. So what happens is that the MNA and MPA are selected by the general public, and then the parliamentary democracy is formed. So you give those people vote, MNA and MPA, member of National Assembly and member of Provincial Assembly, and then they form a government. It's a good governance system, but it has some flaws because the MNA and MPA like they do blackmail the government, which is not good. As we see today, that the blackmailing is still happening. They're trying their best to, malign Imran Khan. They're trying to like blackmail him, but all are failing. Imran Khan is trying his best. Hopefully, after the Senate elections, he would have full majority to to take Pakistan forward. Now coming to the presidential system. In this, the general public just votes towards the president. That's all. And then the president has the full power. He or she makes the assemblies, and then that person cannot be blackmailed. So this form of governments is pretty good because as we see, like in Pakistan, a lot of people like who have ruled, like the generals specifically, they did the presidential system, and Pakistan really progressed in those years. So this is a type of system which suits Pakistan because it will eliminate the blackmailing of the parties, and we don't need to select like my family had to vote for another guy in order for Imran Khan to win. So we don't want that. We want just the pretty simple system, just like in the US has. Lastly, I just want to shed a light that the Western democracy, like the parliamentary democracy or like any form of their parliament is supreme. So what happens is that when they say their parliament is supreme, is actually uh, like not a good form of governance because then you are what I'm trying to say is like when people say that the Western form of democracy is not good, is because of this kind of reason. As when the parliament becomes supreme, they can make any law which can, like contradict with the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So thankfully, Pakistan does not have that. Pakistan has a constitution which is based on the Holy Quran. So as long as those pillars are met, Pakistan's economy and the constitution is legitimate. Pakistan Zindabad. Thank you for listening.